G'day, welcome to Navadia. How you going, everyone? I just have to say, I am so sorry. I have been really slack when it comes to my channel, and I just want to say thank you to all of my supporters over the past couple of months. I have been horrendously bad, and I understand why some of you would be like, where have you been? First of all, I'm going to do a very quick disclaimer, because this is what you have to do at the beginning of all of these types of videos, is that I am not a doctor. In no way, shape or form am I a doctor. Do not take what I'm about to tell you as medical advice. If what I'm about to say rings true to you, go see a doctor. I'm going to talk to you about anemia and my struggles with it and my story around it and some of the symptoms that I've had, and hopefully if some of this rings true, you might realize that you might have anemia. Unfortunately, anemia has the same symptoms as hemochromatosis, which is like anemia but on the other end of the spectrum. What happens is that the symptoms are the same. People might think that they're low on iron, start taking iron tablets, and yet they're putting more iron into their system, which is bad because anemia is pretty easily fixed as long as I'm aware. There's no long-term consequences. But with hemochromatosis, you're looking at heart disease, liver disease, and diabetes. If you think that you might have anemia and you haven't had a blood test yet, ever, do not take iron supplements until you go and see a doctor. I don't want any of you to get more sick over what I'm about to tell you. So please, I cannot stress enough, go see a doctor. You're probably realizing that I haven't uploaded in a couple of weeks, at least a month. I've been doing a lot more streaming rather than edited content. And I know a lot of you prefer the edited content over my streams, and that is understandable because life is life, and sometimes, especially a couple of years in, it is quite common for YouTubers to get burnout, and that's a thing, and you know, it's not an uncommon thing for that to happen. So please be aware that I probably am suffering a little bit from YouTube burnout. I do genuinely think that a lot of my slackness has actually come from a silent anemia. What's happened with my life is the majority of my life I have had anemia or borderline anemia. It is a thing that happens to me. Mostly my fault, really, I think, is I'm practically a vegetarian. I don't like eating red meat. It's not my favorite thing to do. I prefer chicken or vegetarian meals. So that's number one, that I probably could put a lot of things on my diet. But also, I think I have a poor iron absorptivity in general. There is a link between ADHD and iron. I don't know why, I don't think they understand why, but I also have diagnosed ADHD. So there's probably a little bit of play on that one as well. Being female, or being a person who menstruates, or being a person who bleeds easily, or a person who donates blood, which is what I also do, it puts you at risk of being anemic. So what I want to talk about today is what my story, my history, some of the symptoms that I had for anemia, and those sorts of things. And this isn't scripted. If you probably can't tell, I'm a little bit going to jump all around the place. I apologize. I'm going to try and talk about it roughly in chronological order. At the same time, it's going to jump all over the place. Before I go into my history when it comes to anemia, I do want to have a quick chat about how they figure out what your blood iron levels are. The majority of the time, they just look at your blood hemoglobin level. Your hemoglobin is actually a protein, and it surrounds an iron atom, and that iron atom helps transport oxygen to your muscles, your cells, everywhere. And as you probably are aware, that oxygen is kind of necessary for life. However, unfortunately, hemoglobin, even though it tracks reasonably closely with your iron ferritin stores, hemoglobin can actually change, and sometimes you can have really high hemoglobin but very low ferritin stores. And this can happen for multiple reasons. For example, it depending on where you live. If you live in a high altitude city like Mexico City or Bogota or you know, anywhere that's high altitude, you can actually have your hemoglobin shoot through the roof. Another reason why some people might have a high hemoglobin but a low ferritin is if they're tired, if they're worn out, if they've done a lot of exercise. It depends on your lifestyle as well, clearly. For example, I was giving blood one once, and I normally have a hemoglobin level of about 125-ish. Anyway, what happened was I was 120-ish the previous donation, and then I went to give blood again, and I was very, very tired. I had a big day of work the day before, and when I went to donate blood, it was 145 or something ridiculous like that. It was well above the level that they would take my blood normally. I remember when I gave blood, when I went to give blood, and I had that really weird anomaly for my hemoglobin, the nurse was like, "Oh my God," and like pointing at the piece of paper, and the lady standing next to her was like, the patient's in front of you. It was pretty funny. Anyway, so what they did was they took a blood test, ran it through. It came back that yes, I had very high hemoglobin, but I was borderline anemic. So I was just above the anemia level, which from memory, it was about 2021 is the borderline anemia, and I was like 23. I don't think I've ever tested above something like 25 in my life. As I was mentioning, your hemoglobin levels can change independent of your ferritin levels, which is your body's store of ferritin or iron. The first time I was ever diagnosed as anemic was because I gave blood. So again, same thing happened. They took went to take my blood, and my hemoglobin levels were a bit off. So they, of course, took some blood and sent it off, and they came back and said, your blood iron levels are really, really low. Remember how I said that the ferritin level from memory, don't quote me on this particularly, I'm sure somebody in the comments below who knows more about this would be able to either confirm or deny, but from memory, you're supposed to be at a ferritin level of about 20. Mine was 13. And at that time, just a month or two previous to that, I was doing a course in aged care. So, and in this course, I needed to do work experience. And so what I was doing was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, working from 5:30 to 3:30 because I needed to do work experience for this course. Then I went and was doing a musical where it was really, really intense performances. And I ended up doing like 5, I think, to 11 o'clock at night. And that was in a town that was half an hour's drive away. So by the time I got home, it was like 11:30 at night. So also like it changed. I remember I got home at 12:30 once, only to get up again at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I was, of course, burning the candle at both ends with the midnight oil using a blowtorch. I was absolutely exhausted during this entire time. So, of course, when I went back to martial arts, when I was doing my martial arts, I was really concerned as to why a red belt, if I remember correctly at the time, which is just before your brown belt, because I did Taekwondo, I was doing a pattern or a kata if you did karate, and I went for 20 steps or something, and by the end of it, I was exhausted. And I thought to myself, well, I hadn't done martial arts in 2 months or a month or something like that. I'm probably unfit. So I kept going. Of course, I didn't know at the time, but I was really, really low on the iron. So when I went to give blood and they rejected my blood for my low iron levels, I remember just taking the tablets, and within 3 days, I was feeling a positive feeling. I was starting to feel better. The thing is, you don't feel it. You don't realize it. You're just kind of feeling a bit tired, and it's easy, very easy for you to go, oh, but I haven't been sleeping. I haven't been, been working too hard and rah, rah. It's easy to flip that off as just a simple, I'm tired. And that comes to my second symptom that I notice when I get really low on the iron, is that I become insomniac. Over the past couple of months, at least definitely the past couple of weeks, I have been not sleeping. I have been going to sleep at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then waking up at 7. I'd be lucky to get a 4 or 5 hour sleep. It's weird because I'm super buzzed. My brain is buzzing, which is, can also be attributed towards my ADHD. My brain buzzes. I can't get to sleep. And then when I finally do get to sleep, I keep waking up. That is a symptom of anemia. And looking back through my childhood, I kind of remember saying to a teacher, it's like, I don't mind being perpetually tired because it just means that as soon as I go to bed, my eyes shut and I sleep solidly. And I was, again, living on a couple of hours of sleep as a 16, 17-year-old. I probably have been anemic my entire life. Another symptom that I go through is I get cold really, really easily. And that's another symptom of anemia. I think the reason why, although again, I have not done any research, this is just my hypothesis, is that you're not getting the oxygen to the cells in your body. And maybe that has something to do with that. You're not functioning. Your body is not able to do its biological processes as much as it could be. I remember I was at my dad's place and it was a cool winter night. I think it was probably about 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. I remember I was wrapped up, I was shivering, I just couldn't get warm at all. And my dad was like, "What are you doing? Why are you so cold?" It was probably like a warm like a warm jumper, and maybe some socks on, but definitely not teeth chattering, shivering. I just could not get warm. I've always been a person who will wear warmer clothes than what is necessary. So it could be 30 something degrees Celsius out there, and I'm wearing long pants and a t-shirt where everyone else is like short shorts and a crop top. Another symptom of anemia, which I sometimes get, but not all the time, is pica. Pica is a type of order of eating that I have to say separately because of disorder, because of YouTube. What that is eating things that are not normally you would eat. The particular type of pica that is considered to be anemia related is eating ice, like crunching on ice all the time. That's just one of the really weird things that happens to your body when you have anemia. Another symptom, at least for me, when I have bad anemia is just not having any energy to do anything or even motivation. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. If you don't have oxygen going to your brain's not going to function. Another weird thing is that you get depressed. Again, making sense. Oxygen's not getting to your brain. Another thing that I've noticed is that I become really uninspired. I become really apathetic when I get anemia as well. And that kind of is the reason why I stopped making videos. I'm not saying that as 100% on the anemia, but the very fact that I'm standing here recording something after about a week and a half of me finally taking more iron tablets is kind of giving you an idea of how insidious this disease is and how all-consuming it is and how much it consumes you and you don't even realize you're sick. Overeating is another one because you're tired and insomnia, you're tired, you overeat. Your body is also craving things that to make you have more energy. Overeating, at least for me, is a symptom of anemia. And I can tell you this, I have just been snacking constantly on sugary stuff, not great for my diet. That's basically it. The reason why I was tipped off for me thinking that I had anemia is for the same reason I thought there was something wrong with me when I was 20, a 20-year-old red belt, was because if I go to the gym, I run up and down or do something for about 25 seconds and I am exhausted. I am completely out of breath. That's why I think I have anemia. The fact that I'm feeling so much better, a lot more perkier since I started taking tablets, kind of confirms it for me. I've got a history of anemia. I hope this has helped someone. Again, a lot of these symptoms with anemia are also the same as hemochromatosis. So if you feel like some of this is ticking the boxes, do not start taking iron tablets until you see a doctor. If you don't want to go and see a doctor, give blood. If it's your first time, I don't know how it does for other countries, but I do know that they do routinely check your blood iron levels if you are a frequent blood donor. You find out what your blood type is, you might find out your iron levels, you'll at least find out your hemoglobin levels, and you'll be able to save someone's life. And you also get like a cup of tea and a biscuit and some chocolate, which is always a good thing. Hey, Editing Navadi here. Sorry, I forgot to mention probably the most important of all of the symptoms, at least for me, especially since I have ADHD, is that having anemia can also cause people to be easily distracted. Being ADHD and having anemia is just a double thwack of being unable to concentrate. And if you have ADHD and you think you might have anemia, please go and see a doctor because it can make your life a hell of a lot easier. Anything to help us concentrate more and being able to stay on task more will always be well appreciated. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I do want to say thank you very much to everyone who has been supporting me over the past couple of months. Again, I'm so sorry. This is obviously a off the top of my head video. I don't know who my patrons are at the moment. I haven't checked Patreon because, again, that's basically me being slack. And so for my lovely patrons, I really adore you. I do really appreciate you. I love you a lot. And I hope you all are well.